The Fifth Kind. Click on the links in the description to watch the full video. The ancient Norse mythologies speak of conflicts among advanced beings as they conflict with one another over the management of the human race. These stories can be found to echo all around the world. The ancient Indian Vedas and the stories of the Mahabharata tell of kings warring against each other with advanced technology as they battle for hegemony over Project Earth. Greek mythology speaks of advanced beings living nearby but somehow inaccessible to the human race on Mount Olympus. They too battle with one another over questions of how to manage human beings. These stories of wars among the powerful ones are there in Genesis as well. There is a whole theme of stories in the pages of the Hebrew scriptures which can be referred to as the Sky Council, sometimes referenced as the Divine Council or the Heavenly Council. But the behaviour of the members of the council, not that divine, not that heavenly, they really do go to war with one another and conflict with one another constantly over questions of how the human race should be developed and herded, protected, or otherwise. So these council members, they're not avatars for a loving, holy God. They are different ET factions competing with one another for stakes in the management of our planet. In Escaping from Eden and the Scars of Eden, I argue that the Elohim reference the members of this ancient Sky Council, which our ancestors were aware of. In 1 Kings 22, one of the Hebrew prophets was able to remote view what was going on in that council, and it wasn't pretty. If you go back to the stories of beginnings in Genesis 1 to 11, we have stories that reveal a number of ET arrivals, incursions, interventions, and a number of different agendas bumping up against each other. So the first agenda we find in Genesis 1, the first 2 sentences, and it seems to be a benevolent one, because there what's being recalled is the arrival of ET visitors who are helping to recover planet Earth after a cataclysm that has left the planet devastated and, for the most part, flooded. And so it's a benevolent intervention to rehabilitate life on Earth. And that's a story that you can find echoed in ancestral narratives and mythologies in cultures spanning the globe. And the details that correlate are very, very interesting. If we come to Genesis 3, here we have 2 agendas for humanity conflicting with one another. One is saying, let's upgrade the human beings to be more like us. And another is saying, we don't want them too much like us. One faction wants the humans more conscious, more intelligent for a better human experience, and the other faction wants the humans kept so unintelligent that we don't even know we're naked, wants us at an animal level. And there's a conflict, and it's actually the subordinate who goes ahead and does the genetic modification and does the upgrade. Now, all those themes can be found in the Sumerian stories. And what happens the moment you translate Elohim in the plural is, of course, you realize we're reading the Sumerian stories. We're reading the stories of Enlil and Enki and the other sky people of the Mesopotamian narratives. In Genesis 6, there is a story told which echoes in cultures all around the world. You can find it in Africa, the Caribbean, the Philippines, India, in Nordic countries, in Celtic regions, Scotland, Wales, and Ireland all have versions of this story, and it's a story of ancient hybridization. What's interesting, the way Genesis 6 reports that, is that it is the second wave of ET arrivals that our ancestors appear to remember. And these ones, the Bene Elohim, the ones like the powerful ones, the second wave of powerful ones, they're here for another reason. They find the human race very attractive and want to be more like us. And so they take human females in order to improve their own gene pool. It's such a bizarre story. It comes from the blue. The writer of Genesis 6 assumes we all know the story from somewhere else. And indeed, you can go anywhere on the planet to hear ancestral versions of that story. The flood in Genesis 6 is another narrative that repeats around the world, and it comes in response to this hybridization that has upset the delicate balance among ET demographics involved in what's going on in planet Earth. They argue about how many humans there should be on the planet, how long-lived they should be, and then there's this genocide that's perpetrated. Genesis 11, there is a visitation of planet Earth by another extraterrestrial force. The way it's translated right now, it's presented as a Yahweh story. That's the holy name of God given to Moses. But this is a story from ages before the time of Moses. And there are clues that we're reading an Elohim story because the pluralizations are still there. These beings come and are so horrified to find a technological human race that they bomb our ancestors into a Stone Age condition where all the technology is lost, and our ancestors even had to re-evolve the power of speech. This is a very profound neurological interference upon our ancestors that is absolutely horrific. The current translation says it's Yahweh who did it. Dig a little deeper and you realize these were the actions of the Elohim. What were these ancient ET presences doing on planet Earth? What were the motivations behind their presence? And what were the agendas that brought them into conflict? You see, if you fail to realize we're talking about a council or a federation that is debating and arguing and going to war, if you translate all that as the actions of God, because Elohim equals God, then all of a sudden you have a God who's double-minded, argues with himself, goes to war against himself so violently that the human race almost gets wiped out in the process. You think about the conflicts over how intelligent human beings should be. The flood story where one demographic wants to kill them all and one wants to save humanity. These are conflicting agendas. They are not the conflicting thoughts of a deity. They are the stories of ancient conflicts that our ancestors have recalled in different ways, using different images and different metaphors, but making it very clear the same memory is being evoked. And it's the story of an alien presence on planet Earth.
The fifth kind. Click on the links in the description to watch the full video.